you ever go back and plant your seeds in the spring, have you noticed how the soil level drops? In this video, we're going to talk about falling soil levels that you'll see in the winter in our January garden tour, where you'll notice we don't have snow anymore. Let's get right on with it. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. If you've watched any of my garden tours, you know that I have a lot of soil level drop, and I'm going to talk about the reason why in this garden tour as we look around what's in the gardens and see what's going on this January of 2024. We're coming down to the last week, and normally I get this raised garden bed tour done, and we have some really neat examples of soil level drop and why it happens. And like most things, I'm a little bit different than most people when it comes to gardening, and I just thought it'd be fun to share a little bit of the reasoning and what's going on in the garden. So we're going to look at 3 different soil levels in here in the garden, in my garden, that are very dramatic, all of them, and why it does that. But there's a reason on the far end. You kind of stay toward the end. I have a reason why my garden has this so much worse than your garden. I'm Bowtie David. This is the Bowtie Gardens, and we are entering our 6th year of successful gardening. And I am very excited about that here in Destin, Florida, 7 blocks from the beach, 7 blocks from the Choctawhatchee Bay. We have this little microclimate that didn't mount to a hill of beans this time because we got 5.5 inches of snow. And so it was a crazy winter so far, and we are gonna survive this. But the snow, it fell all the way down to the beach. And you can see here, I even made a little snowman, Bowtie Salty the snowman, and watched the waves as they lapped up on the snow, which is very unusual to see here. In fact, there hadn't been a snow like this in recorded history here in Destin, Florida. So it was an exciting week. It was a week ago this afternoon that started. So you're hearing a lot of air traffic right now. You might hear that, and that is just kind of the result of living between 2 airports, 4 air bases, a heliport, and I keep forgetting to mention, well, there's a base where they blow up things too over here. So we tend to have a lot of background noise here, and a few minutes ago we had a whole murder of crows up in the American sycamore tree, which was pretty loud, but they left. I tried to pull out my camera fast enough, wasn't able to. Anyway, we're looking at the beds here, and we're going to take a look around. This will be the January garden tour of the raised beds, kind of in the middle of the backyard. In fact, these raised beds take up a portion of our backyard, and you can see here in this map we have about a 1/4 acre. It's 100 feet wide and 106 foot deep. It is right at a 1/4 acre property, and we have come around the back here and we have converted part of this backyard. Well, we've converted most of the yard into garden beds, but part of this backyard we built up some garden beds and raised garden beds so I could garden in my older years. And I spent a little bit of extra time and effort doing this. Believe it or not, it did not cost that much more than making wooden beds. People think I've spent millions on this thing, and it was less than 10% more than building with wood, because that was my other choice that I was going to use. And when I went down to the hardware store and compared the price of cinder block to wood, the cinder block was less than 10%. I want to say it was like 7% more, something like that. And so for beds that will last basically forever, I chose to go with cinder block because they're going to last forever. The paint on them is exterior paint, of course, and helps preserve them, helps keep them dry, and they're going to be here forever. I don't know, rest of my life. That's when we filled these, though, we actually filled them with all organic material. Let me put a caveat on that. We built the beds. The soil and the sand underneath was actually very dark because the person who owned the house before, this was his garden. It was an in-ground garden, and I actually dug down about a foot of his soil, got it out, put down 130 Christmas trees and other hugelkultur base kind of stuff in all these beds. And then we put his dark sand on top of that. Then I put in close to 180 contractor bags of leaves, and then I put on yards and yards and yards of compost. And so if you listen carefully, there wasn't much non-organic stuff that's going in here. And that's the important thing that I want to point out here, because when you're doing soil now properly, okay, I understand. It's the proper way to do it. Like this bed right here, this is our GreenStalk. And these soil levels haven't even dropped half an inch in 2 years. Maybe 3 years, okay? Yeah, 3 years. They haven't hardly dropped at all. And this got stuff growing in it, and the reason is because in the soil, the garden soil, you have different components. You have an organic component and you have a mineral component. And this is very important. The mineral component stays there. It offers a structure for the biome that's so important for life in the garden, that that biome can live there. And what does the biome eat? The biome, the bacteria, the fungus, all the things that live in our soil that convert those things that the plants need into usable minerals. There goes another one of those jets. Uh-oh, this one's coming our way. No, he's not. He turned. Anyway, turns that stuff into usable nutrients for your plants. And so if you've got structure in there, it'll consume the little bit of organic material that's in there. And that's great. Now, in my garden, I'm using 90% organic material. It's a little bit twisted around the other way. I know. The way you're supposed to do it, you shouldn't have that much just organic material. My goodness. I waited 15 minutes before starting recording this for the planes to stop, and they just haven't stopped. It's amazing. Some days it's super busy. One day maybe I'll try to record a video when they're all going out to their bombing ranges to shoot explosives off and drop targets and stuff like that. We have a bird coming up right behind us. I wish I could turn the camera to the bird feeder because he's liable to fly right over here. Anyway, so a lot of stuff going on in the garden. In fact, let me just interject here. You can hear the construction going on in the background. They're installing fiber conduit up our street right now. We're not going to have fiber for several more months, but it's the first step toward getting fiber to the house. I'm very excited. I had to go out and shoot this video. Anyway, so soil levels. And it really comes down to a decision. Like I said, I'm going to explain in the end why my garden bed is so different than the way it's supposed to be. Okay, because there's a reason. I have a reason. And some people mock me for it, and it's fun. I love the conversations that go on in the live streams. But so this is potting soil. This is a good quality potting soil that we use to fill this GreenStalk. In fact, I'm looking down lower and it doesn't look like it's even dropped a half inch. Certainly not an inch. Yeah, about a half inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch in some of these pockets. We got strawberries growing. We got weeds growing. I missed it. We got old broccoli. In fact, I wanted to show you this. This is an old Calabrese broccoli. Calabrese broccoli. Calabrese broccoli. And this is from like over a year ago that I planted this. We got broccoli off this, and look, since the last garden tour, new little shoots are popping up on here. It's so funny. I think it's amazing the resilience of these plants. And we got down here, just out of the camera view, we got some little kale. Dino kale. Oh, that's flavorful. Oh my goodness, that's rich flavor. After that snow, you get that cold stuff. The flavor just, wow, good stuff. We got parsley back over on this side. We got strawberries. I think I already said that. But the important thing I want you to notice today, specifically, is that soil level. And this is actually maintained its soil level for being here 3 days, 3 years. And so, while this plane is passing, let's get looking over at the beds over here. I'm going to try to make this a quick, and normally when I say that, It ends up being 3 hours long. No, I'm not going 3 hours, but I know I'm feeling a little cocky because the last video, it was a 15-minute garden tour. Fastest garden tour I ever did. I was so excited. Anyway, let's get on with these beds. So we're looking at bed number 1. Now, normally we have a lot of plants in here that I like to point out, and today we do not. We have very few plants. In fact, there's a lot of blueberries in here, and these things are going nuts. Those tomatoes, we had the snow, the tomatoes are gone. They are history. So really, the only thing growing in here right now are a few weeds and the blackberries. Did I say blueberries? They're blackberries, people. I know what they are. I just don't always say it. My mouth doesn't know what they are. Anyway, we got a lot of debris sitting in here. We got the chop and drop from harvesting the ginger and turmeric that we did just a month ago, which is so hard to believe. We have debris from the zinnias, and I love talking about these. If you watch my video tours, you remember I talk about this in just about every single one of them. You take those dead heads like that and just spread them out, and oh my goodness, those little things falling out there, those are seeds. I just planted a whole bunch more possible zinnias in this bed. And so the important thing here is notice the side right here. And all these beds, I want you to start noticing the sides, because right here, they're cranking up conduit for the fiber. Anyway, right here, you'll notice that this soil has gone down, I don't know, 8 inches, maybe 9 inches from the level I had it at the beginning of the year this past growing season. And now I've got a lot of debris here. Notice how much weeds are growing over here. There's very few weeds growing in this chop and drop in here. There are some in there, but it's going to be a lot easier to clean up those weeds. Now we're going to do another video where we're going to talk about what I'm going to do on top of this, because I have some other solutions that are kind of out of the box, but it's something that we see. And so after all these blackberries, come on, that's my mouth. It says the right words now. After all these blackberries, we have the bed down here, and I've got to show you. Remember what I'm going to be what I thought I was going to be planting in here? Look at that strawberry plant, right? Oh my goodness, I just can't get over how this strawberry plant has thrived so much. And here's the interesting thing, people. Okay, notice all these other weeds are dead. These other weeds couldn't stand the snow. This thing was buried under 5 inches of snow, and look at it. Oh my goodness. It is just saying la-dee-da. It is just ready to go for the new year. I love these strawberries. Oh my gosh, they're so great. But I can't wait till we start planting. We're not actually going to be planting them in this bed. I changed my mind. And this is, I don't think I've mentioned this in a video before, this is going to be the hot pepper bed, because right here we're going to have a lot of good direct sun. Those hot peppers love direct sun, so we're going to be planting hot peppers all along here. We're probably going to be putting some ginger in there and in another place, which I'll point out later. But notice the soil. Keep noticing the soil as we go through here, because we're going to have a little talk about it at the end, and some alternatives and some options. People, when we're talking about gardening, here's the important thing. There is no one way. Take some time and figure out what your resources are. You might discover some new resources as a result of this video, which I would just be thrilled, because that's why I watch garden tours, is to get inspiration for new things. That just thrills me to no end. It really does. It excites me, the things that we can learn, because someone else did something like that. And here's the amazing thing, not just someone else, anybody else. I have learned stuff from people growing in Alaska. Christopher Bransdal, I'll link him in the description index below, but he's in Norway. He's in snowy Norway. He has a growing season that's about 12 minutes long, I think. And so I can't imagine growing in that kind of an environment. We've got about 11 months and 2 weeks to grow here. There's about 2 weeks in here that we can't grow. And I say can't grow. If you've listened to any of my videos or watched them, you know anybody can grow anything, anywhere. Here we are. We got blackberries growing everywhere. These things, I mean, look at, they're covering these 2 arch trellises here. In the spring, when these things start flowering, there's going to be so many blackberries on here, I'm not going to know what to do with them. Last year we had 14 people in here picking berries, and this year is going to be no different. I have a feeling that all 14 of those people will be back, and maybe a few extra. So of course our decorative pear right here, I've given up on it. I think it's a decorative, I don't know what it is. I really don't want it here, but I've discovered it makes a great transition for the blackberries to climb through to make it to this other arch trellis. I am going to be growing cucumbers up here in the spring, because as the cucumbers are coming up, the blackberries are going to be getting done. And so we're going to be just kind of working one crop after another. And so here we are at the second bed. Now this second bed has actually been treated almost exactly like the first bed. And what's the first thing I told you to look for throughout this video? Is that soil level. Notice how it's gone. This is actually even a little bit better. And I'm not sure why this one is so much better. This one looks like it may have dropped 4 or 5 inches. Over there, that one maybe 8 inches. And we're going to get to a point here where you're going to really see a difference in bed number 3, because that's where the big lesson is. But we're coming around here, of course, the bean trellis. The beans have all died, of course, long ago. And we had the Luffa Expanse come through here that was just a nightmare, that grew across the whole property. Well, my property and the neighbor's property. But yeah, they actually killed most of these because the loofah had actually grown over the top of this. I had shade cloth up there, which was just too much for the beans, I believe. We're going to do a little bit different with our shade cloth this year. We're going to come down here. Of course, we have this extra trellis. I really want to have those Everglades tomatoes on this thing again. Notice the soil level. It's getting a little bit deeper down here that it's sunk. This is closer to that 9 inches that we saw in bed number 1. And of course, let me show you the aloe patch between bed number 2 and 3. And we will move on to the devastation of bed number 3. Now, folks, you want to talk about devastation? These aloe are devastated. They were under 5 inches of snow. They were destroyed, okay? They were destroyed. But here's the cool thing about aloe. Aloe can stand the snow. Yeah! You think, oh, a desert plant can stand? Yeah, a desert plant. There's snow in the desert. Yes, there is. And if you'll notice, there's already new growth down inside here that is getting ready to come out. In fact, let me go up here at an angle, and you can look way down inside there. You see that little nub of a leaf down inside there, right there? That's actually grown since the snow melted. And that new growth is going to represent the life that's going to thrive out of this plant once again. All of these aloe. There's another one down there I can see already just shooting up. Oh, that one was protected from the extra cold of the snow because it is a firm leaf. And yeah, isn't that awesome? Now I use this aloe. We harvest it every once in a while for burns and bee stings and stuff like that. You can watch the video on that. I wanted to show you this one down here though, the most exposed aloe over here. This one was the most exposed because the wind was blowing this way. It was cold. A lot of snow fell on it. Look at the nastiness here. And we can go through here and cut these things out. But look, inside there, it almost looks good. We flip this up and look underneath. This is aloe, people. Something you find in that's all mushy right there. Look at the new growth down inside there. Isn't that exciting? It's going to come back. So don't be afraid sometimes of planting things that you may intuitively think, oh, there's no way that's going to live. Yeah, these things have already survived super freezing. Now they're going to have to survive snow. And I'm kind of hoping that this freeze, recovering from this, I can get this whole area a little better organized, make a nice path through here. This has been a little bit of a sticking point for me and getting things in my garden straight, but we'll see what we can do with this. You can dig these things up and move them. They're very resilient. That's aloe, man. Aloe is awesome. And then we come over to, here we are on the left side, you can see bed number 3, and this is what I wanted to show you. Look down here, and we're going to talk about at the end here why this is like this, but look. That soil is down 16 inches. Can you believe it? 16 inches. And right there, that next section, right there, is down about 10 inches, maybe 11 inches. It's down a long way. And then if you look over here, in fact, this is probably one of the better beds. Now, here's the reason, people. And this is a really good illustration about organic material and what happens when you're using so much organic material. Now, I'm not saying don't use a lot of organic material. There's a reason for this. That's what we're coming down to at the end of this garden tour. There is a reason for it, and for me, it's a very important reason. But yes, I have a ton of organic material. This thing has dropped 16 inches. Why did this bed drop 16 inches and that one only drop about 4 inches? Here it is, people. This bed right here, the pepper bed, has not had any soil added to it. Listen to me. Any compost added to it in 3 years. I filled this thing up 3 years ago, and it's been sitting there. The nutrients out of that organic material has been feeding our hot peppers for 3 years. Back in 2022, I planted hot peppers in here. 2023, they grew in here. 2024, they grew in here. Here it is, 2025, and we just took those hot peppers out just a few weeks ago. If you didn't see that video, click on the link up in the upper right-hand corner. If you can see the little eye in the circle in the cards, click on that link and you can see the video about overwintering peppers, because they're all indoors right now, taking it easy, kicking back, lounging on the sofa, watching our movies. And so, yeah, these peppers are going to come back out just at the other end of the garden. But we come down here, and for 3 years, the converted nutrients from this organic material has been consumed by the plants. It's been washed away by the rain and irrigation. It's been going through its natural cycle, people. This one here, this bed here, got soil added to it last year. That was, I think, only the one time that this bed here had added soil put on top of it. Now this one over here and all the other beds have been added to yearly. In fact, we go to our little mountain of compost, which you can see right here, and this mountain of compost, we get to pull stuff out of it. And so we've added 30 yards, maybe 120 yards of compost to our whole garden over the past 3 years. And we're actually well into our 4th year here, but this bed I have topped off several times, and I'm going to top it off again. And I'm going to top it off again after that. And the year after that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to top it off again. Now, the interesting thing is, that bed over there looked like this bed after the first year. In other words, it sank a whole lot more than it did this year. In fact, this year, it's looking better. Next year, it's going to look a little better. And here's the reason, people. This mountain of compost that I'm pulling from doesn't have really 100% organic material in it. There's also sand in it and some topsoil. There's a little bit of topsoil in there. More sand than topsoil, but it probably makes up 10% of it. So over time, I'm starting to get mineral content in these beds. Well, not that bed, but all these other beds, and they will sink less and less. And so as we're going through here, I am adding minerals and structure to my garden beds every year, a little bit every year. Now, let's talk about the conclusion here. And by the way, yes, the tomatoes were completely consumed by the snow. The goji berries, they look wonderful. We're going to definitely be pruning these this year and getting them ready for a new year. These are the ones I forgot to prune this past year. Slipped my mind 100%. Doggone it. I got to get in here and clean this whole area out. I wonder if I can cut goji berries back to the ground. If you know about goji berries, tell me in the comments. I would like to know. I'm very curious about that. So, you'll notice right here above my head, I've actually pulled a brick out of that in bed so you can see the soil level as we're talking. And I want to talk about some logic. And we go through these things, and I see people get into the gardening arena, especially new gardeners, and I've actually seen new gardeners be discouraged because of how much things cost. Now, people, fellow gardeners, you can do it at any level. If you have the funds to go buy $50 a bag Happy Frog, the fancy stuff, go for it. I really like GardenerScott's test of different soils that he did on his GreenStalks. Was it last year, year before? I'll see if I can find the video and link it below in the index, this point in the index in the description. It was fantastic because the stuff that I still get for $7 a bag for a big 50-pound bag turned out to be his best growing stuff. And I've been using that stuff. There's no sponsorship. I use the Stay Green stuff that comes from Lowe's. Now, mind you, I will qualify that. I know all Stay Green is not the same. The Stay Green that we get at our Lowe's here in Destin, Florida, oh, it is consistent. It's the same every single time. I've been buying it for years. After I actually spent a few years testing different soils, and I settled on that as my soil. Which I get cheaply, because if you go down there and you see a torn bag in Lowe's, some Lowe's will actually will give you a discount for those torn bags, and you might get anywhere between 25 to 50% off on if you'll take a torn bag off their hands. And I'll look at the bag, and if there's nothing really missing from it, it looks about the same as the others, I have no problem buying that bag ever. And so I will buy those bags. And so I'm a cheapskate. That's the truth. Hello, my name is Bowtie David, and I'm a cheapskate. Hello, David. Yes, so I'm not ashamed of it. I only have so much of a budget to put into this. We are working, right now, we're working on a house remodel. It hasn't been cheap. It's going to take some time and money. It takes me being off of work some days, and we're trying to save money and pay for this remodel. It's going to be the only remodel we ever do for this house, most likely. And we are coming to the end of phase 1 and about to enter phase 2, which is 10 times bigger than phase 1. But we're trying to save money where we can, like any household. And so I encourage you to find ways, even in the garden. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to buy those $2,000 grow lights, people. You can buy the little clip-on work lights that you get at Lowe's, and they will work. They may not work as efficiently. You might get a marginal gain from using that $2,000 light setup, which I don't fault any. If you have the funds for it, go for it. If you don't have the funds for it, please don't go into credit card debt for it. That is just a big no-no. Talk to Dave Ramsey. He'll cover all that stuff for you. Very important person in our lives that we have followed for a number of years, and he's actually the reason we were able to get into this house. And so the soil here, I could go buy truckloads of topsoil or gardening soil or potting soil or whatever, and it would cost a lot of money. But you know what? This mountain of compost is free, folks. This mountain of compost, I can take out as much as I want. I can bury my property 6 feet deep, every corner to corner if I wanted to, and it would not cost me anything more than the time it just takes me to drive down there and pick it up. Now, to make it matters even worse, people, I could go with my car. I got a friend that goes down with her car and gets a contractor bag, and she will sit there and she will shovel a contractor bag full of this compost, and she mulches with it. She just puts a little on the top. Fantastic. It's got nutrients in it. And so if you have a resource, and folks, most of us have a resource. Sometimes it takes a little time to look around for it. It took me several months before I finally found the resource, but I was talking to someone at church, and there was a conversation that led to me discovering this mountain of compost that is free for the taking. And when I take my trailer, they will even load it for me for free. I do like to slip the person a few bucks every once in a while, just to kind of keep the relationship going. But yeah, you gotta look at your resources, people. Figure out what you have available. And so this really comes down to what I really like to get, the points I really like to get across. Anybody can do this. People say, well, I don't have a green thumb. You know what a green thumb is? It's a lack of information, people. That's all it is. It's just a lack of information. And you know what? I happen to know a channel that can get you a lot of that information. And I'm not the best one out there, people. I like a lot of other channels. I watch several channels. I watch my channel because I like that guy a lot. But I watch several channels. I get the information for free, people. It's out there. You can get the information, learn how to grow things. Anybody can do this. No matter what your income level is, there is a way to afford this. If you have just a little bit of space, people talk to me that have a condo patio, and you know what? I give them Thai plants to grow. Not Thai. I give them Thai hot pepper plants because they love the Thai hot peppers. I've given away rosemary. I've given away all kinds of plants to people that just have a little bit of space, but they want to grow something. And I just think it's so important that we grow something that can brighten your space, something that can brighten your meals, something that can brighten your day. Having the green around, looking out here, and yes, there's a lot of brown out here, but I know those blackberries over there, I said it right, those blackberries over there covering those two arch trellises are going to be fantastic. Those little orange flags, did you see the little orange flags in that bed? Tell me in the comments if you know what those orange flags are. If you don't, you got to go back and watch that video. There's a whole bunch of orange flags all over the property. I've been talking about all three parts of this garden tour for January 2025. Hard to believe. But yeah, it doesn't matter what your income level is, people. I've seen some people that I would have thought would have been destitute growing beautiful gardens, just total inspiration from very unlikely sources. It's very cool. I don't know what else to say to convince you that if you're not growing something, you need to be growing something. There's very simple ways to get started. The soil is one of the foundational things. 130 Christmas trees. You know where I got them? I got them driving around our neighborhood here and a couple other neighborhoods around. 180 so contractor bags of leaves. I got that from one location about 5 blocks away. All of them from one location. The compost that I put on top of it. All these things are things that I didn't spend any money paying anybody to do this. Now, the bricks, they look beautiful. I'll admit, I enjoy them. They bring me joy just coming out and seeing this. And yes, they're just dry stacked. They don't move. They sit there, they hold the compost just fine. They don't move. They stay in place. The only time they do move is when I go and move them manually because I went and moved that. But yeah, folks, anybody can do this. And I just encourage you, if you are not growing anything yet, you can grow something. And if you're growing something, maybe you can grow more. And if you're growing more, maybe you can grow all your food. I'm not in a position that I want to grow or am able to grow all of our own food, but I'll grow a lot of it and I'll get as far as I can and see what I can do. Mrs. Bowtie and I have been on the edge of getting chickens for years, almost 2 decades. We haven't done that yet. We have not pulled that trigger. We have 2 neighbors on our block, though, that have chickens. I watch so many YouTubers that have chickens. I think about it. So anyway, I really, I do these garden tours because I have been inspired by so many other garden tours out there. This is just a result of watching other people's garden tours, of watching other people do their things. And like I was saying earlier, it doesn't matter where they're at, whether they're in my state or whether they're in another part of the country, another part of the world. There's things that you can be inspired by, and if you want to, you can. I don't want to be hearing the excuses that you don't have a green thumb. Because remember, what's a green thumb, people? Green thumb is a abundance of information. A black thumb, a brown and crispy thumb, that is just a lack of information. That's all it is. And information that you can get for free. Free, folks. I don't want to belabor this anymore. So we'll call this an end. I hope you found this informational, educational, inspirational, or maybe just entertaining to see me fumbling around in the garden. I do this every month, and you are so invited to come along. Please like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Biggest thing you can do is share these videos with your friends. Share these videos with a friend that might need some encouragement to garden. Please, if I can do it, truly, anyone can do it. I hope y'all have an absolutely blessed day.